A common discourse that's been all over the internet as of late is the subject of localizers for anime, and how rather than doing their jobs properly, they completely changed the writing of the original scenes to the point of them being completely unrecognizable. It used to be a problem with dubs, but now these translators are even altering subtitles, making it so that you can't enjoy anime the way it was intended to be, even if you watch the subbed versions. The two most infamous examples you probably heard of are from Prisonschool and Misskobayashisdragonmaid, with the former having the term Gamergate forced into the dialogue of its dub,
"Have you got a stick up your ass? Or are you one of those dumbass Gamergate creep shows?"
and the latter having a rant about the patriarchy added in a scene that literally had nothing to do with the subject.
Oh, those pesky patriarchal societal demands were getting on my nerves.
That's because many of these localizers are rabid activists who use this job as a means to push their agenda onto audiences who just want to enjoy anime. And to be clear, by activists, I don't mean liberals in general. I mean extremely far-left extremists who spread their own bigotry and hatred under the guise of being progressive. I wish that these were isolated incidents from over 10 years ago, but unfortunately, this issue has been becoming more and more widespread, with numerous examples of localizers either inserting their political views into someone else's creation, or adding a bunch of cringy Western slang that feels completely out of place in a Japanese product. However, for some reason, there are people who try desperately hard to defend these localizers. A common defense for them is that they are just doing their jobs, and that you can't expect them to be perfect, as translating can be difficult. Also, there are circumstances where 100% accurate translations do not flow well in English dialogue, as YouTuber Sage the Bennett explains in this clip.
There's a reason why scripts aren't directly translated, and that's not just because of the lip flaps. Japanese is a very context-based language, and often relies on situational phrases that are left unsaid, or on the way a certain word or phrase is said. It's like the difference between the word toss and throw. Both mean the exact same thing, but one is more appropriate to the situation than the other. For an apropos example, we all know that "omewa mu shinderu" means "you're already dead" in English. However, you can't use that line in the dub because "omewa mu shinderu" has 8 syllables, and "you're already dead" has 5. So how do you account for the 3 missing syllables?
That's right. In fact, you're already dead.
Well, you have to go off script.
But here's the issue. It is one thing to make a translation that may use slightly different words than the accurate translation, but still retain most of the meaning from the original dialogue. However, anime fans are not criticizing localizers for simple errors or necessary alterations. They are actually calling them out for intentionally changing the original content by inserting a bunch of cringy American slang or their political views into the writing that obviously was never there in the first place. That's the real problem with modern localizers. I highly doubt terms created in the West, such as incel or mansplaining, were in the original text of a Japanese property, so quit lying by claiming that these are honest mistakes. No, those localizers are changing the dialogue entirely on purpose. Oftentimes, it's clear that they have a personal problem with the original material. Take for example this clip that has been recently circulating around social media, where the localizers had written "Happy Holidays" in the subtitles, even though the characters literally say "Merry Christmas" in English, in the original Japanese version. That's because, according to these people, saying Merry Christmas is apparently so offensive that it shouldn't be said under any circumstances. I'm sorry, but it is not in your place to change the script, because it's not politically correct in your eyes. Your job is to make translations that closely line up with the original dialogue. These localizer defenders also accuse critics of simply being humorless, for not enjoying the Western quips shoehorned into translations. Well, excuse me if I don't find internet slang that will most likely get dated sooner rather than later to be particularly funny. Another problem is that it's completely out of place to see in foreign media. It's ironic how these people who preach about social justice are blatantly disrespecting another culture by defending the removal of Japanese traits and replacing them with Western ones. Get your American-centric worldview out of here, you disingenuous hypocrites. These people even went as as far as to claim that adding Western slang is necessary, because they don't think Japanese humor is funny, as stated in this tweet. Because Japan and the West have very different kinds of humor. And a big blunt, what? Japanese humor is really only funny to the Japanese. Their use of puns is worse than a 60s cartoon, and they have an entire genre of comedy revolving around having a guy to explain every joke to the audience. For every funny Japanese comedy, there's about 100 that only they would find funny. Most of the planet doesn't think not saying the appropriate line for a situation is a knee slapper. Yeah, that sounds like a you problem, as I and countless other fans enjoy the comedy that comes from anime. If you don't like it, then watch something else, instead of demanding that it gets changed to suit your personal taste, like an entitled brat. I swear, these people sound like the anime men, the type of normies who would bully people for watching anime 10 to 20 years ago, but are only now getting into it solely because it's popular and trendy. But they still get mad when they find out that it's not catered specifically to them, and so they demand that it be made more like TikTok slop. So congratulations on exposing yourself as a tourist. The way I see it, these translation changes are exactly like when Geek Entertainment removed the gay relationships in their dub of Sailor Moon in order to not piss off homophobes, or 4Kids changing the Japanese cuisine in Pokemon into American ones, and censoring the violence in One Piece, along with modifying the dialogue in order to air the show to children. Another one of the stupidest counter-arguments these localizer defenders give to anime fans is to just learn Japanese themselves. How about you tell that to the people whose job is to translate anime? Yeah, the defenders are always trying to get a gotcha moment, only to accidentally poke holes in their own arguments. Like how they claim that these changes are no big deal. Okay, if these changes don't matter, then what's the point of making them in the first place? And one minute they'll claim that these changes never happen, only to end up admitting that it does, but also act as if it rarely happens. One of the reasons I believe these people are so defensive of these localizers is because they too are leftists who share the same political views as them. I wonder, would they fight this hard to defend the translators if instead they added in a bunch of right-wing / anti-woke talking points? I don't think so. They simply don't care about entertainment. As to them, this is nothing more than a political debate that must be won, which trumps an honest discussion, facts, and respect for original creativity. One last talking point I need to address is the question of whether or not localizers should get replaced with AI. Well, I want to state for the record that I do not support this whatsoever. AI should never replace human jobs, or be used in any aspect of media. The solution to this problem is not AI, but rather to make these localizers do that job properly, and if not, sack them, and hire people who actually respect the material they're adapting. And that's just about it for this video. If you enjoyed it, then be sure to give it a like, share, and comment, along with subscribing to my channel and hitting the bell for notifications. Anyway, see ya!